Prajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Vishnupada Brahmsa Vivajakakaya Shodhishati Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Jaya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Om Vishnupada Brahmsa Vivajakakaya Shodhishati Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 2, titled Hiranyakashipu, King of the Demons, text number 45. Na Shudrananu Mukyo pi atra mahanasu. Yastiv ahindriya vanatma. Sachanya prana dehayo. Nashrota nanuvaktayam. Mukhyo pi atra mahanasu. Yastiv ahindriya vanatma. Sashanya prana dehayo. Nashrota nanuvaktayam. Mukhyo pi atra mahanasu. Yastiv ahindriya vanatma. Sachanya prana dehayo. Please repeat. Or would you like to read the verse in the Sanskrit? $45. Oh, okay. Corey.
Nashrotananuvakhtayam.
Nashrotananuvakhtayam.
Piyatra mahanasu.
Mukhyo piatra mahanasu.
Stivihindriyanatma.
Yastivihindriyavanatma.
Sechana pranadehayo.
Sachanya prana dehayo. Would you like to try? 45. That's okay. Nashrotananuvakhtayam. Mukho piatra mahanasu. Yastivahindriyavanatma. Sachanya prana dehayo. Not. Shrota, the listener. Not. Anuvaktya, the speaker. I am this. Mukhya, chief. Api, although. Atra, in this body. Mahan, the great. Asu, life air. Ya, he who. Tu, but. Iha, in this body. Indriyavan, possessing all the sense organs. Atma, the soul. Sa, he. Cha, and. Anya, different. Parna dehayo, from the life air and the material body. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the body, the most important substance is the life air, but that also is neither the listener nor the speaker. Beyond even the life air, the soul also can do nothing, for the super soul is actually the director in cooperation with the individual soul. The super soul conducting the activities of the body is different from the body and the living force. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead distinctly says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Hidi Sani Vishto Mata Smritir Jnana apo hanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Although the Atma, or soul, is present in every material body, dehosmin yata dehe, he is not actually the chief person, acting through the senses, mind, and so on. The soul can merely act in cooperation with the supersoul, because it is the supersoul who gives him directions to act or not act. Matas mritir gyanam apohanam cha. One cannot act without his sanction, for the supersoul is apadrashta and anumanta, the witness and sanction. One who studies carefully under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master can understand the real knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the conductor of all the activities of the individual soul and the controller of their results as well. Although the individual soul possesses the indriyas or senses, he is not actually the proprietor, for the proprietor is the supersoul. Consequently, the supersoul is called Hirshikesha, and the individual soul is advised by the direction of the supersoul to surrender to him and thus be happy. Sarvadharman pratyaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Thus, he can become immortal and be transferred to the spiritual kingdom, where he will achieve the highest success of an eternal blissful life of knowledge. In conclusion, the individual soul is different from the body, senses, living force, and heirs within the body, and above him is the supersoul, who gives the individual soul all facilities. The individual soul renders everything to the supersoul, lives very happily within the body. Om Agena Termandasya Kinanjana Shvakaya Chakshmatamyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So I will first just say where we are for our guests who might not know where in the Bhagavatam we are speaking from. So as mentioned, we are in the 7th canto, and Hiranyakashipu is relating a history. Hiranyakashipu just had his brother Hiranyaksha killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Varaha, the boar incarnation. And his family members, so his sisters-in-law, his nephews, nieces, etc., are very heavily lamenting the death of their husband, father, son, whatever their relation to Hiranyaksha was. So he's relating this history that one time this king died, and his queens, his wives, were so attached, they were not letting the body be taken away so that the proper funeral rites could be done in a timely and auspicious moment. So Yamaraj, in the form of a 5-year-old boy, came to the queens speaking transcendental knowledge, which is one of the verses that we're reading now. And he is making the point here that within the body, there are various forces that are there. One of the most important material forces or material substances in the body is the life airs. According to the Vedic anatomy, we have various airs that are responsible for the functioning of our body, the proper functioning of blood, digestion, etc. And one can study in detail these different things if one is interested in that realm of science. And without these life airs, or if these life airs are somehow or other disturbed, then the functioning of the body is hampered, or sometimes, in serious cases, even ceased. But the point that Yamaraj is making is that even though the life air can be considered the most important material substance in the body, that he or that it, the life airs, is not actually the one who is experiencing what is going on in the body, the listener and the speaker, as it is put here. That is the spiritual force that is living inside the body. That is the soul, and above the soul, the super soul, the Paramatma. So the inside the body, inside a living body, is the living entity, the Atma, who is individual. And it is he that animates the body. The living body is termed living because the soul is there. Once the soul leaves, it is a dead body. All of the material elements are still there. But because the spiritual spark has left, the body is no longer functional. Prabhupada would regularly give this challenge to atheistic people, material scientists, who say that consciousness, the life, is a product of material systems such as the brain. Would say, okay, take a dead body when it has just died, all the living, all the chemicals, everything is still there. Can inject life back into it. If you say that life is material, then you should be able to inject some material substance or do some material process and bring the dead body back to life. Which, of course, as we know, is impossible. Once somebody's dead, they're dead. And the reason is because there is nothing material that is causing life. It is the Atma, the individual soul. And with the soul is traveling the super soul, which is the localized expansion or the localized feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is realized at different levels. Of course, the first is considered the Bhagavan, or no, is considered the Brahman realization. That there's some spiritual energy that is behind the functioning of the world. But it's not, doesn't really have a conception of form or place. It's just kind of all around us. You can try to tap into it. You sometimes hear this conception in so-called spiritual or new agey circles. It's like, oh, the universal light or universal love, things like this. But it can be, of course, I don't know all these new agers levels of realization, but on the original Vedic viewpoint is Brahman realization. And then there's Paramatma realization, which is the localized aspect in that Krishna is traveling with the living entities as witness and a friend. He is always there to give us guidance. Ultimately, he is trying to tell us to return back to devotional service, to serving Krishna in his Bhagavan, or a completely personal realization of a form. But the Paramatma, as it is mentioned in the purport, is guiding the living entities and giving them facility for their different activities. As it is said here, that the individual soul has senses, the indriyas. These are both the knowledge acquiring senses, the eyes, ears, tongue, etc. And then there are also the active senses, which are also considered indriyas in the Vedic viewpoint. They're the arms, legs, and the things that we use to act. And we have the senses, but we are not actually the proprietor of the senses, because we are not ultimately in control of them. Just like I might have a house, right? If I am the proprietor of a house, then I can do what I want with it, right? If I want to drill a hole in the wall, or paint it a absurd color or things like that, then people might caution me against it. It's like, okay, it's your house, do what you want. But if I'm renting a house, I'm renting an apartment, then I cannot do these things, right? If I used to live in an apartment and I couldn't just decide I wanted to paint the walls or, redo the plumbing or something like that. I had to get permission from the proprietor of the house if I wanted to, or the apartment, if I wanted to do something like that. And similarly, even though in a certain way we possess the senses, we do not have full control over them. At the first level, there are the demigods. The demigods, devatas, have control over our senses, whether they are able to act or not. And then ultimately the super soul as well. For example, I am starting to get sick. There's been some bug that's been going around the farm. And I guess it's my turn, my karma, to suffer in this way. And when you're sick, it's harder to do things, right? Even just the active senses, you're moving a bit slower, things like that. Your sense of taste might be off, all of these things. So how can I say that I'm the proprietor of my senses? If I was actually in control of these senses, I could say, okay, I don't want the sickness here, be gone, right? But I cannot, right? So how can I say that I am the controller, I'm the proprietor of my senses? No, the demigods said, okay, in a past life, you did something that was against the religious principles, so you have some bad karma that you have to get sick. So, now's the time you're going to get sick. And even beyond that, there is the super soul. In that, the demigods might have control over my senses while I am in this body. But it's the super soul that is facilitating the material desires by sending us into body after body. There's even more control over, or even more proprietorship over what senses we have. Because the entire way that we approach the world is through the senses that are with the body that we have obtained through the cycle of material nature. When I am in a human body, it might be that certain other human bodies look very attractive to me. But if I'm given the body of a cockroach, then cockroach bodies look very attractive to me. And in the human body, I'm very disgusted by cockroaches. Who knows? I don't remember being a cockroach, but it's possible in a cockroach body, you're disgusted by humans, right? So the senses are there in every sort of body. And there's the super soul that is overseeing us going from body to body, obtaining different types of senses in order to enjoy and suffer our previous activities. So this might come with a question. I don't know if anybody has thought of this question after hearing this report. But it's like, okay, the super soul is the proprietor of the senses. He's the one in charge, of my seeing, hearing, the movement of my arms, legs. He's the proprietor. Why doesn't he get the reactions? Right? The super soul's the proprietor, but I'm the one that gets the karma. Just to extend the house analogy, if I do something with my house, if I'm the proprietor of it and something is not up to code or there's some corners cut and this inspection comes by and they say, oh, these things have been done illegally, then if I am the proprietor of the house, then I get the fine, right? But if I am renting and there's some things, the plumbing or the electric or something isn't up to code, then as the renter, I don't get the fine. The landlord gets the fine. But of course, the super soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he never suffers or enjoys material reactions of any kind. But is it just that if I'm not the proprietor, then I am getting the reactions to my activities? And kind of the way out of this is that as the proprietor, the super soul is giving the sanction, but we are the ones who are actually deciding to perform the activity. In that we cannot act without the sanction of the super soul, but he is responding to our desires, whether those desires are pious, sinful, or spiritual. In that, if we have a sinful desire, say to go to the casino or something, then the super soul allows us to do that. The super soul doesn't want us to perform these sinful activities. The super soul actually does not want us to even perform pious activities per se, because both are on the material platform. Super soul wants us to perform devotional service. And he is always trying to remind us by giving us opportunities. Don't you remember the service that you have performed for me before you came to this material world? That we were together in the spiritual world, performing various pastimes. We have chosen to come to the material world. The super soul is always looking for opportunities to remind the individual spirit soul of this. But if the spirit soul persists in his unwillingness to perform material activities, then the super soul gives facility. Okay, you want to gamble, I will allow your senses, your legs, your arms, to go to the casino so that you can gamble. And for another person, it's like, okay, you want to perform charity, I will allow your arms and legs and your eyes and ears to perform charity. But the super soul is always untouched because he is simply sanctioning. He is not the one who desires to perform the activities, but is instead allowing the individual souls, the renters, so to speak, to perform their activities within their body. Just like, when I was renting an apartment, if I perform some illegal activity, if I was doing drugs or something in my apartment, it was not that the landlord would be fined or jailed for that activity. Because even though one could say they are facilitating by giving me a place to do it, they are not actually responsible for the activities that goes on within that apartment or within that body at the level of the super soul. But as I said, the super soul is always reminding the living entity to how to return to devotional service. That's why it's sometimes called the Chaitya Guru, the guru in the heart. He is always trying to give direction. But of course, sometimes, just practically speaking, it can be difficult to determine whether the voice that we're hearing is the Chaitya Guru or just our own nonsense mind. Because sometimes people can think, oh, I'm doing spiritual activity, I'm doing this, Krishna is speaking to me from within my heart. But in actuality, they are just following their own nonsense program. That is why the Chaitya Guru guides one to a spiritual master, to the external guru, so that he can give instruction in how actually to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then one can confirm, oh, I'm feeling that I can serve Krishna like this. And then one can go to the guru, to the acharyas, to Shastra, and confirm, is this actually Krishna? Is this actually the super soul guiding me? Or, is this my own program that I'm trying to just gratify my own senses with? That is why we should take advantage of our own spiritual masters. And then, of course, as members of ISKCON, we also have the books of Srila Prabhupada, which perfectly explain the conclusions of the acharyas and of Shastra, and are sufficient to guide us to pure Krishna consciousness, if we hear about them from a bona fide spirit, if we read the books under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, then we can actually listen to the super soul and return to full surrender and live a very happily with the super soul, even in this body, and then ultimately when we leave this body, back to the spiritual world. So I will end here. If there are any comments, questions, additions, subtractions.
One of my questions escaping me right now, but not there was more just the metaphor goes to give the super soul a commentary to be kind of as a guide in the material world and how to get back to the spiritual world. Is that fair to look at the super soul kind of as a guide, like a tour guide in the material world, leading you back to the spiritual world, giving you that opportunity constantly to realize the material entanglement and disentangle?
In a certain sense, yes, as the super soul is always trying to remind us to return, to remind us of our original devotional service. He's giving us opportunities like that. But as the tour guide is a bit different, in that the tour guide is the one controlling the journey. You know, there's the start of the tour and the end of the tour, right? The difference is that the living entity, the individual living entity, is the one that decides whether to actually take advantage of the opportunities that the super soul is providing to return to devotional service, or if he decides to continue in this material world, then the super soul facilitates.
I was also looking toward the force for.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to, if you're like that analogy, you can use it.
I mean, the reason it's coming to mind is because there have been times, especially earlier in my spiritual journey, where it felt I wake up, I leave my house, and it's like super soul, just spirit, like being presented with spiritual things, and I would often run away or just become anxious and scared, bewildered, whatever you want to use, and then I would notice rapidly with those fearful emotions where I'm not facing what I need to spiritually, that almost that window into the super soul's guidance would almost just go into air.
Yeah, I mean, so the super soul also acts individually with each individual, right? So I'm talking like general principles, like generally the way that the super soul acts. In anybody's specific life, there can be kind of more or less opportunities depending on, you know, various things. Of course, the mercy of the Vaishnavas is always there. But also it's possible that in a previous life, you have already performed a devotional service. And so the messages that the super soul is giving you were more direct in a certain sense. In that he is giving you the opportunity to take up again the service that you started in a previous life. So in that way, you know, it can be a lot more direct in a certain sense. It's like, you know, you did this before, time to, you know, get back on track. Because, you know, you didn't complete in your last life. So time to finish it up now.
Definitely see that, yes.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, questions?
I like the apartment. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any from our online audience?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for, um, as always, an enlightening class. So Prabhupada is writing in the purport that the Super Soul gives all facility to the living entity to act.
Mhm.
So one example I'm thinking of is the ability to communicate. So there's many accounts from non-devotees as well that the fetus. So when the living entity is in the womb, they can communicate. Uh, when the living entity is in the body of a dog, insect, whale, they can actually communicate
Mhm.
through the material facility of telepathy. In the third canto, we hear about how the living entity prays to the super soul because they're actually suffering in the womb. The conditions there are pretty intense. So how can we connect with the super soul, or like basically uncover that ability that we had while in the womb to actually communicate directly with the super soul? Is it that the super soul gives that facility because of the helplessness of the living entity? They don't like have to perform yoga, and therefore they get that very high facility of communicating directly with him. Uh, and then when they come out, then they have to perform yoga. They have to perform some kind of austerity to rise to, like, for example, Ashtanga yoga, when you get to the platform of Dharana and you begin to actually see the super soul. So how can we, just revive that facility to be able to, or accelerate, revive it, and then accelerate our progress to getting this facility to actually talk to him directly?
So I'm not sure if I have a complete answer, but just some thoughts. Of course, we follow the process of devotional service. Um, of course, the living entity within the womb uh, is in a very distressful condition. And also, from my understanding or from my memory, it's not that, every baby in the womb prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, prays to the Super Soul. You have to have some background of at least pious activities, if not devotional service. It's in a very distressful condition. So, if and many times, at least if somebody is somewhat pious, during distressful times, they think of God. If one is brave enough, one can follow in the footsteps of Queen Kunti and pray that more and more troubles come in order that she might remember Krishna. For those of us who are not so brave, there's always chanting, reading Prabhupada's books. And then, of course, we have the opportunity to actually see the super soul in the form of the deity. There's no difference between the deity, so, Radha Damodar on the altar, and the super soul within the heart. So by serving the super soul in the deity form, one can actually touch his body, dress him, feed him, etc. Then one develops a relationship and can become more and more purified. So it's basically just the standard practice of bhakti yoga, as far as I'm aware. It's not that, there's a, uh, some special process or anything like that, just following the program that Prabhupada gave us.
Thanks, Prabhu.
All right, thanks. Madhupan Leela Mataji.
Thanks for the nice class. So I was wondering, you were giving this analogy of when you're getting, it's just your karma to get sick. So like, it's kind of inevitable that these things are going to happen. So I was wondering, in this sort of way of thinking,
Mhm.
problem that just doesn't seem to go away, do we just think, okay,
Sorry, you're cutting in and out. I'm not getting your complete question. Sorry, I am not hearing absolutely anything.
Might be easier just to come to the temple, right?
Yeah. If I think you're on breakfast, Madhupan. Just want to run up the stairs.
did you hear any of that question I just asked?
I heard something about my karma being sick and something about, long-term problems. Uh, Other than that,
Okay,
I,
can you hear me now? I've got like 2 bars.
yeah.
Okay. So the question was, if it's like you were saying, you're catching the cold and it's inevitable, it's your karma to get it. So I was wondering if we have some anartha or reoccurring problem that we just keep like struggling with, it's our karma to have that problem. We have to go through that suffering in our lifetime to deal with that. But we have also an opportunity to like actively do something about it. Just like if you're getting sick, you can just accept, oh, this is I'm sickness, it's the inevitable. Or you can like, start eating differently or take vitamins or whatever. Like you can do something about it that could counteract it so you don't get sick. So does that mean that we actually do have some control over like our activities and our reactions and the way that we do things? Just like we can also choose to like do something about a reoccurring problem, even though it might just be like something we have to deal with our entire life. That was the question. No judgment. If you want to get sick, go for it. But I'm just making a point.
So, so in general, anarthas aren't exactly the same as karma per se. In that, it's not, oh, it's my karma that I'm, prone to anger or, lust or watching TV or something like that. While it's my decisions to engage in those desires, or more precisely, I'm carrying those desires from previous lives. But the distress and the happiness, so-called happiness that we are getting is coming to us. Although we can to a certain extent or in certain circumstances, determine to a certain extent how that suffering or happiness ends up coming to us. So just in my personal example, of course, the reason why I chose the ashram that I am in is because it's best for a devotional service in my life, for my kind of attitude and the way I'm doing things. But even just from a material perspective, my karma, if you believe astrology, if you believe, Vedic astrology, is that I don't have the karma in this life for marital happiness. But it's still a choice, right? I could have gotten married and had an unhappy marriage, or I could stay brahmachari. Of course, like I said, it's not because of my karma, just to be clear, in my own personal case, it's not, oh, I have bad karma, so I just stay brahmachari. I don't have any interest in that, but in the other ashrams, but just as an example there. Or, if one, just to get away from that, if one has the karma of being sick, one could take care of one's health and not, catch a cold or something. But that karma is coming. You'll get sick in another way. On the material platform, there is very little that you can do to counteract the effects of your karma. Of course, when we come to devotional service, chanting starts to get rid of both of our good and bad karma. But the pious and sinful reactions are coming. And even though you are able, to a certain extent, to modify how they come, then they're still coming one way or another. Just like when I was asking Gurudev about this point before, karma versus free will, that, and he's made the analogy, if somebody has the karma to have a certain type of spouse, then the only people that they will have available to marry are people who fit that karma. It's not possible for them to marry another sort of person or somebody without that quality. But within that karma, within that boundary, there's still choice. So hopefully that clears things up a little bit. All right, there's a virtual yes coming through. All right, we're out of time. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank you.